Hey everyone, it's Jenny from the Wow Creative team. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today I am going to be showing you how to combine heat embossing into your cute stamped scenes. So today I'm going to be sharing how I made this card. So to get started, I'm going to be using Wow Embossing ink and the Wow Cardstock. This is awesome for heat embossing on. It's super smooth and super bright white. If you don't have any, I definitely recommend you check it out and have a go. I'm going to be taking my ink pad and using it directly on the Wow Embossing cardstock just by swiping it over the top a few times just to make sure it's coated. I'm looking to create a strip around 1.5 inches wide, and I'm going to be actually using 3 different colours of heat embossing powder on this piece of cardstock today. So the first colour I'm using is Blueberry Cheesecake. This is one of those mix powders where it's got a couple of different colours in it. It has since been discontinued. If you guys have it in your stash, very lucky you. There is a blueberry colour in the earth tone range, which is similar. You could always mix it with some white pearl to get a similar look. And I'm just going to sprinkle it all over the top, catch that in my coffee filter. And I've done it a couple of times just to show you. Look at that sheen that you get. Isn't it gorgeous? And what I'm going to be doing is die cutting these whole lot of hearts by Heffy Doodle from that strip that I've created. And you'll see that the strip I've created is just big enough to fit those dies. So I can just trim off that strip, set it to one side and do all my die cutting in one go. Because I'm going to do a couple more strips here. Now, depending on the size of your die that you're going to be using, you make sure that you heat emboss the cardstock to the right size, and that way you don't waste any embossing powder or cardstock. So my second colour, I'm using Sparkling Snow. This is an opaque white powder with iridescent glitter in it. It's really, really, really pretty. That circle on the top actually had half of it coloured in black, so you'll see how opaque it is. It completely covered up that black Sharpie that I'd added onto the circle on the top. And I've heat embossed it a couple of times, and this is a quick look. And then the third colour and final colour I'm going to be using, Iced Silver. This is one of my new favourites. It's got little circles of holographic glitter in it, so they're slightly bigger chunks than you would find in iridescent glitter mixes, and they're circular, so it's almost like glitter is being adhered into the embossing powder when you heat it up. I've gone ahead and die cut those all with the whole lot of hearts by Heffy Doodle off camera, and I just gave you a close up just then on my hand. You can see I've got plenty of hearts. I'm not going to be using all of them, but it gave me some options for when I created my scene later on. Now for my image, I'm using this really cute little bear. This is from the Lawn Fawn Really High 5 stamp set. And I'm going to be Copic colouring this little guy in. So I'm using some Express It white cardstock here and stamping it with some Copic friendly black ink. And I'm speeding up my colouring here, but you can see the colours that I'm using. I used R20 for his cheeks, and then for his body, I'm using E33. I'm just going in and adding some dark shading where I think the shadows are going to be. I like to go from dark to light. I am by no means a professional Copic colourer. I rarely do it. I have been trying a little bit more recently to get out of my comfort zone, and honestly, practice does really kind of make things look a whole lot better. I used E31 just to blend out that darker line, and then I'm coming in with some E30 as the lighter piece and just blending that out. For his tummy, I'm using W5 for the shadow, W4 to blend that out a little bit, and then W2 for the rest of his tummy. So the light is coming down from the top right-hand corner. For my background, I'm using this square mandala stencil from Gina K, and I'm going to blend it with some cotton candy ink in the centre from Alter New. I'm using my Tailored Expression blender brush here, and then I don't know what colour ink this is. It was what was left over on my blue blender brush. I do this sometimes when I don't want any kind of really dark blending. I grabbed it, I overlapped it with the pink, it made a nice purple colour, and then faded it out, and that's going to be my background. Now, I die cut those hearts because they're going to act like balloons. This stamp set inspired me. It has balloon stamp images, but I wanted to create the look of balloons using die cut hearts and using the heat embossing shine to act like a shiny balloon. So I'm using my little bear that I have fussy cut out just to position him on my panel of cardstock where I think he should go. And then I'm using the strings from the stamp set just in terms of all bunching up together in one point where his hand will be grabbing onto them. And I'm going to do 4 of these, and I do come back in a little later on to add 1 more. So in the end, he's going to be holding a bunch of 5 balloons, and I'm going to pop him up on some foam tape. Later on, I regret that because I needed to move him a little bit, so I did pull him up again, and those foam squares are really sticky, but I was lucky and I didn't have to colour him in again. But I would caution you guys on building scenes like this, maybe don't stick things down until you're absolutely certain about where they're going. So I lifted him up because I wanted to do that extra balloon tail, just so it shows all the strings coming into his little paw and then the strings coming out the back end, just to kind of give, kind of make it look a little bit more like he's holding those strings. And then I'm going to lay out my hearts. I'm choosing the different colours. You saw how many I die cut earlier, so I've got lots to choose from. And I'm then going to pop those up on different levels of foam tape. So my first one is just going to be on 1 layer of foam squares, and then my second one I'm actually going to pop up with a double layer, slightly overlapping that first one. My third heart I'm going to just adhere right down onto the panel itself with some liquid adhesive. I use art glitter glue, and it dries clear. If a lot of you have been asking me what glue I use, that's the one I use. It's super sticky, and you can get an extra cap that lets you add it on in a fine line. And then I'm going to pop that one up on 1 layer of foam tape again. It just gives that element of dimension, and the different layers kind of make it look like some of the hearts balloons are floating behind each other. And then, as I said, I did come in and add 1 more string and 1 smaller balloon. Now for my sentiment, I'm going to be using the one from the stamp set itself. I'm going to heat emboss it in opaque, bright white, superfine embossing powder, which is my favourite white embossing powder to use for sentiments. This says high five, and I'm going to heat emboss it in white and then pop it up on a foam strip. I'm using black cardstock, and I did come back in and stamp the sub sentiment in black ink directly onto the panel underneath, which says really high. And that finishes my card. I mounted it onto a white £110 card base, and isn't that super cute? I love how this turned out. I hope you did too. Be sure to head on over to the Wow Embossing YouTube channel and see all the other video tutorials they have there. There is so much to learn, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.